Good afternoon, rock and roll Canada, coast to coast, North America. Welcome to this special coffee with yours truly, Dragon, ending the month of February. Have successfully completed 3 weeks in a row of 5 marches, each week, five, Monday to Friday, averaging a lot of hours. I can say proudly that Dragon Zero has marched more than the generals of NATO combined during this month of February 2023. Today, special on the menu. First, I'm going to say, as always, rock and roll. Thank you, farmers across Quebec, La Belle Province, Canada, coast to coast, North America, for the food, because everybody has to eat, even Wall Street. Please, Wall Street, if you make a million buying, selling, trading stocks, futures, options, and those puts, please give 10% if you make a million on the stock market. 10% of a million equivalates to 100,000 divided by 4. You can give 25,000 for food security, 25,000 for LGBTQ issues, and also 25,000 for women's sports leagues, as well 25,000 for, of course, Mother Nature, planting a tree for every tree that we cut down. That is the call of the heart from this financially struggling independent artist, athlete, activist, although who's rich in kisses. Got trillions of kisses credited from the forgotten goddess, and by those kisses credited, I do lay the foundations right here in this Montreal Hawk Island for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. My mission, my vision for a world peace, manifesting as the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Yours truly, independent artist, independent athlete, activist, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, philosopher. Who's not perfect, far from it, got some issues, got some vices. Do not play as self-righteous. Pro-labor, universal revolutionary centrist. We're gonna rock and roll on this special edition on this Friday, surviving 3 years of COVID, because I had COVID about February 2020. The first time I had it 3 times, and I'm triple vaccinated. Please, brothers and sisters, increasing hygiene in public. As you see, I open carry my disinfectant, hand sanitizer, disinfect the hands with this hand sanitizer or soap and water. When you go in a bank, when you go in a grocery store, when you go in a store, in a school, whatever the case may be, please keep the practice of hygiene, public hygiene, because my brothers and sisters, when I step outside right here, I'm in my underground room, office, and temple, and yes, I do get dirty, get back clean. Of course, I'm not perfect, far from it, playing self-righteous without vices. It's just not me. Even I'm a universal spiritual teaching student, I do not know it all. I have more questions than answers, perhaps, of everything of civilization and nature. But one thing I do know is that civilization has required and is requiring, as I'm speaking these words, live stream on Facebook and of course on this YouTube, which I'm going to post, that civilization has required, will require, and is requiring some brains and some muscle, some brains and some muscle, some brains and some muscle, which I got a little bit of each, have some theories, some philosophies, which I'm calling the implementation. And today we're going to discuss the surviving COVID, my geopolitical analysis and theory, as I'm also an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, a philosopher who's open for business, triple vaccinated. Please, again, increasing hygiene in public, as I've been noticing when I go in a store, in a bank, in a grocery store, or whatever the case may be, that of course we tend to lay lax with the COVID restrictions being, of course, lifted. And I do hope for the COVID, for us all to move towards a post-COVID economic, social, financial, philosophical, technological system. Fundamentally, my theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, lateral fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory, to be implemented via the fourth dimension. Very important to be implemented via the fourth dimension, LOV, because my brothers and sisters, if it's nothing about love, I don't want nothing to do with it. Celebrating also Black History Month, to my black brothers and sisters, Black History Month, to the throughout the North American collective civilization, aka the collective North American civilizational complex, North America and beyond. If I can do any justice in whatever way may be, I can offer hugs, kisses, and tickles. You can say, no, I don't want any of your kisses or your hugs or your tickles, but that's what I got to offer from the heart to all willing, beloved, who want to work together, an ally, and make our civilization better and contribute, bring whatever we have to the table. So to my black brothers and sisters, LOV, offer kisses and hugs, because that's what I got first and foremost. My rent's paid last day of February. I'm grateful, thankful. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production and the distribution of food, such as this coffee, which I'm grateful to have. I'm going to give a shout out to the workers of Hydro Quebec. I'm going to bless them, give them credit, billions of hugs, big dragon hugs, and go, go, go. Build another 7 dams in the next 7 years is my way to go, because it's clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. And of course, I got this privilege of civilization, as I, of course, presented my thesis at the beginning of 2023 in January, in which I'm going to continue in the coming days, weeks, and months. And my thesis is, as the people's doctor is, called the privilege of civilization, which we have interconnected dimensions, which we utilize our privilege of civilization right now. I have this privilege of this electricity, that I'm heating my coffee with clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. And of course, I'm doing this video with clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy at this moment in time. So I'm utilizing some of that privilege of civilization due to those 63 dams built with brains and muscle since 1944 by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions who worked at one point in different shapes or forms or capacities at Hydro-Quebec, crown institution here in Quebec, La Belle Province. And we also give to 5 states, I'm sure maybe even six states in the USA. And from what I hear, of course, even Manhattan is going to be powered all the way from Hydro-Quebec, from our dams here in La Belle Province, Quebec, of which I am, of course, a Quebecer, a Canadian, a North American who was born in many past lives, many incarnations across different ages. But right here, 28th of February, 2023, I've already snow shoveled earlier this morning, shoveled some snow, the snowstorm ongoing, and I encourage all to work out, train, exercise. Cannot stress enough the importance to regular physical exercise. It really has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice whenever I feel moody, angry, whatever. I go for a march, it always works wonders, and I'm an independent fitness captain. I, of course, created my own training program, workout system, which is effective, simple, and efficient, which requires no equipment. It requires no woman. I'm proud to have created it, and paradoxically, when I've created it, I created it to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. With a World War III, you heard that right? I got proof of work. I got hundreds of videos. In October 2019, after my geopolitical analysis came to a conclusion, I sounded the alarm. I said, humanity, my brothers and sisters, we are again on a trend towards an international conflagration, aka World War III. And so created, made, and designed and produced the General War Integrated Whole Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army, workout made and created to go hand in hand with the World War III scenario, of which yours truly is the creator, the original thereof, and of course have performed more than 300 sessions. September 29, 2022, I've officially turned the A of my surname into a no, and I've completed 300 sessions, because I said I'm gonna do 300, and then I see if I still work out, train after 300 sessions, if it's still effective, and it still is. I began a second cycle, and of course, it's meant to increase general overall fitness. What my workout program training system does, it increases general overall fitness. I'm advocating, of course, to integrate across North America for citizens, for students in schools and high schools and even universities and public security forces. I'm advocating for the armed forces of Canada, armed forces of course, United States, NORAD to be part of the training program system to be implemented. And not only, of course, I have been and will call for the mass financing of my workout training program of citizens across the collective North American civilization to work out, to train, and to exercise, since it has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice. And have been and will call for the public-private partnership to mass finance this, of course, workout training program of our fellow citizens, because it is, for me, medicine and therapy, and it has been and will continue to be. And it's important to channel the aggression, because I admit my own self, I got aggression. But my brothers and sisters, two key words of my philosophy is channeling and sublimating. Sublimating and channeling. We need to sublimate, channel, whether to work out, to train, to exercise, to clean, to go for marches, to give somebody a massage, to do XYZ activities, work, or whatever it is, art or rock and roll. I rock and roll it for the farmers, for the butchers, for the bakers, for the truckers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the workers of this North America. On a choo-choo train with a freight train, carry all those potatoes, all that milk, and all those rutabagas, all those fruits, and all those legumes. And for the firefighters and the public security workers, and for the workers of the east, and or the west, and or the north, and or the south. So this pro-labor universal revolutionary centrist, I am thankful, grateful for today. And of course, I'm not perfect, far from it. I admit at certain things I am mediocre, at certain things I am average, at certain things I am so-so. Being so-so and average and so-so, average and mediocre at some things doesn't mean that I cannot be great, excellent, and super at some other things. So we complement each other. Just like we have the all of us, whether the Prime Minister, President Biden, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or somebody else financially struggling like myself, artist, athlete, activist, whose rent's paid is the last day of February, and I'll be able to pay my rent March 1st. Tomorrow is already March, right? I'm grateful, thankful for that. Gonna keep on rock and rolling, do videos, workout, train, exercise, send emails to look for partnership, cooperation, collaboration, and partnership. Yeah, I get moody sometimes still, but during this COVID, I've healed a lot, and working out, training, and exercising has helped me in so many ways. That's why sometimes incentivizing and encouraging citizens to work out, to train, exercise, take care of the body. With the philosophy, my philosophy is that the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. That is my philosophy. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. The body is a temple for pleasure and for purpose. Investing by workout, train, exercise, nutrition, diet. That's another story. Eat what thou wilt, whatever it is for you. This cup of coffee, I'm grateful to have it. I'm gonna do some meditation, and first I'm gonna continue taking my gratitude to all involved in the production and distribution of food. It starts with the farmers. I got bread. I got a little bit of butter left over. I got a little piece of chicken I'm gonna cook. I got leftover food, so I'm grateful, thankful. But all the leftover food, which has carrots, peas, and potatoes in it, comes from my brothers and sisters, farmers, right? So we gotta be conscious. It's a privilege of civilization. Another one. See, although I did urban farming in Montreal, Huck Island, I grew the crops and I ate my own crops, which I put in the black fertile earth and was fertilized by the sun, and of course with the water and everything that is due the labor, the technique and the labor to do the farming. I did at the micro level, micro small level of the urban farming. So I have some experience farming, I could say, but the urban level. But we don't own farms, and we don't own farms, much of us, right? We're interdependent. We have that privilege of civilization. So I said, and I presented my thesis called, and we'll continue to discuss it in the coming days, weeks, and months, that we have the privilege of civilization, right? We have this privilege. Civilization is always a constant. It has its discontents. It's Freud. I'm not a Freudian 100%. I'm a third Freudian, a third Jungian, a third Crowleyan with a fourth dimension special Adrian Hanna dragon with my own psychological and sexual theories, psychosexual theories, which I have presented and will continue to present and discuss with the world and in the coming days. But again, when I stress, please increase in hygiene in public as we step outside. Right now, I'm in my underground dragon's lair, in my underground room, office, and temple. I can turn everything off, shut everything off, corner blinds. I gotta check because I did some snow shoveling, so it's a snowstorm, so I gotta go help the neighbors a bit. See, it's XYZ factors at play, so gotta be on the alert to give some brains and some muscle, right? Some muscle is required to shovel the snow. It's gonna take some coffee, but please increase in hygiene in public. As myself, citizen dragon, right? I'm in my private domain. We have always the balance and the equilibrium in harmony, private and public. My call for fundamentally is for a partnership, the private and the public partnership. Fundamentally, everything that I do in my call to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions to be of a public and a private partnership for Quebec, La Belle Province, Canada, and for the North American civilizational complex. That's another of my geopolitical theory, which I firmly believe it to be true, 100% without a doubt, that we North Americans, myself included, we constitute a collective North American civilization, right? And which has emerged in response, a sort of paradoxical response to the Second World War, and which is not totally divorced from Western civilization, but it is distinct. So distinct, not divorced, mainly from Western civilization, because I have distinct geographical realities, infrastructure realities, cultural, social, demographic, and linguistic realities, right? Myself, being Quebecer, I speak French, I write rock and roll in French, I sing in French, I love French, I write poetry, art in French. I'm Quebecer, I'm a Quebecer, I'm a Quebecer, North American, Canadian. Somebody asked me the other day, I was saluting my Pope the Sun, and second thing that he asked is, "You're doing sun gazing?" I said, "Yes." Second thing, "What country are you from?" I said, "From here, from Quebec." I said, "No, but what country are you from?" I said, "From here, from Quebec." I mean, I don't know. Whatever country you want me to be from, it's okay. If you want me to be from somewhere else, well, I'm from here, from Quebec. Sure, I'm a world citizen as well. I have an open universal heart, but I'm on this island, Montreal Hawk Island, and I do meditations. And since 2019, when I concluded that, I always did meditation, how to best secure service and security, my island, my home for many, many, many years, and even in the past life. Montreal with its realities, then La Belle Province, Quebec, the coast coast, all the way to the Ile La Madeleine. We got 17 administrative regions. But more than that, it's not just the administrative regions, it's the people. My fellow brothers and sisters, citizens of Quebec, La Belle Province, Canada, coast to coast. We're close to 40 million. My brothers and sisters in the USA, right? Because we're neighbors. I can go for a march and I can cross to the New York State. I could probably reach it in 7 hours, right? If I give even less, if I keep marching south, I'll reach the border. Walking distance for some, more or less for others. For myself, I'm speaking. And all the way to Mexico. And my brothers and sisters in Mexico, North America, we constitute a collective civilization, aka a North American civilizational complex. And we have Spanish, English, French, right? The UK European Union have so many languages, and being able to have a common currency, common borders, common passport, right? Have a common passport. If they be able to do it, my call of the dragon, dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom is first and foremost for the collective North American civilization. Because I'm here in Montreal, Hawkeye, I'm open for business. We got on border two oceans, coast to coast. And we see, for example, in the tsunami, the tornado, the tsunami, where was Claire, or what was the name a few months ago when it hit all the way Florida. It was this devastating response, the devastation in Florida, Claire, or what was the name of the hurricane? Fiona was the name. Fiona was the name. Came all the way to the Atlantic, that way, that way. That was the east. Where I'm pointing now is the east. The Atlantic, we got the maritime provinces. We got New Brunswick, we got Nova Scotia, we got Prince Edward Island, we got Labrador, Newfoundland. Fiona devastated not only in Florida, but went all the way up. Devastated the Atlantic. Still reconstruction going now. So the Dragon Army, my vision, my call for this public-private partnership fundamentally is to be for defense, strictly and only for defensive purposes, security and service, and to respond emergency-wise. It needs some brains and muscle. Defense, security, services, like I said, with consent, hygiene, mutual understanding, and love, and tracked with applications, phone apps, and all corporations, institutions, and organizations, government, to be involved in this great call from this androgynous, pansexual, financially struggling Adrian Hanna Dragon was not perfect, far from it, to play it self-righteous. Sometimes I'm very direct and straightforward. I'm a pro-labor, universal, revolutionary centrist. Yes, I need to swiped a little bit, need to do some more cleaning in my room, office, and temple. And please, when you step outside, because if I step outside now, I'm no longer just private citizen. I've opened my doors with the technology, sharing on the internet, all those servers, telecommunications, and computers, and servers of YouTube, servers of Facebook and Google, and whatever have you. But my words, my philosophy, my call, my theories out in the open, in the public sphere. I put some of my private thoughts and feelings and emotions into the public domain, into the public. As a private citizen, I could turn everything off, get naked, start dancing naked on Madonna's music, if I will, on whatever, Tekashi 6ix9ine music, or rock and roll. You know, not that much, but my favorite rock and roll band is a band from Italy, so probably less known, but it's a rock and roll. They sing in English, but they're not that well known in North America. They're more known in Europe. Although they're known, they had toured in North America. So, anyways, I can put some jazz, rock and roll, rap, trap, whatever the case may be, techno, and dance naked if I will. My price for naked dance is $1 million. Give half to my anonymous sister friend. $1 million. So surviving COVID. I survived COVID back in end of January 2020 until about mid-February or so 2020. So I had it right at the beginning, before it was even in the news, before the word even COVID came to be in the news as a pandemic. Because only in March, I believe mid-March, March 20th or something, the WHO, standing for World Health Organization, declared COVID to be pandemic, right? Before they had declared as a international health concern, and only later they declared COVID to be a pandemic. So I had it right at the beginning, end of January until about February, mid-February or so. All the symptoms, coughing, the chills, everything that was in COVID. So I was in bed for for a few weeks, even for a few days. For a few days it was intense. End of January until about more or less mid-February or so. End of January, not February. It was very sickling disease. It was like death, pestilence of disease. In many ways, I did die during COVID. I said that many times, and I will say it again. Personally, I don't want to go back to nothing pre-COVID. Pre-COVID. I just want to move forward, break the impasse, and work out, train, exercise more, write some more rock and roll, write some more poetry, and implement my Trinity of theories. That's why I'm calling on all governments and institutions, coast to coast Canada, corporations, citizens from Montreal, Label Province, and United States and Mexico to support the implementation of my Trinity of theories, to move forward in this 21st century. My geopolitical analysis back in before COVID in October 2019, and I'm going to say now because it's important, my Trinity on COVID has been, is, and will be this. This is my Trinity of beliefs on COVID. First and foremost, do not know for sure what caused COVID. Second, I believe it was transmitted from snakes to human beings. So, in other words, the official term is zoonotic transmission. Third, I cannot rule out another possibility. Since my belief, I believe that it was transmitted from snakes to human beings. But I don't know for sure. So I have a doubt. So there's a doubt there's gonna be another possibility. Fourth dimension to my Trinity on COVID is what I do know 100% without a doubt is that before COVID, in October 2019, yours truly on the fitness journey, independent fitness captain, artist, athlete, activist, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, and a world peace advocate, still am, paradoxically, even back then was calling for world peace. Still am a world peace advocate, but I do have aggression myself. I'm not without having aggression, but I channel and sublimate it. Workout, train, exercise. We do that so much in sports, boxing, football, all the sports. It's a way to channel the aggression and sublimate. There's so many ways. Art, rock and roll, channeling these energies, channeling and sublimating. Sure, I wish I could afford a massage therapy. I've been saying this for many years now, live on Facebook and on YouTube. But even if I cannot afford it, I'm only spending on essentials. I'm open for business, blah, 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 blah. I'm grateful, thankful that I can take a bath. And that's not a privilege of civilization. I can have the boiler, which was built with brains and muscle, heat water and immerse and take a bath to substitute for not being able to afford a massage therapy session, right? Thinking of the truckers now, the Dragon Army public-private partnership across North America. After a 6-hour drive, he has to drive another 6 all the way from Mexico to somewhere in the US, all the way from Canada to the Mexico, or vice versa, all across Canada, US, Mexico, or east, west, north, south, coast to coast, Canada or Mexico. Maybe they say, I can use a half an hour neck rub. You're just an artist, rock and roll. What you know? I know. Working hard, farmers, Dragon Army to be of service, to be able to offer those services. Of course, not to be abused, to have to ask 3 times a day for a massage or half an hour neck rub or neck rub. Dragon Army to be of service and security. Sure, brother. We got you. We got dragons right there. That stop, next stop, XYZ in that city. In that city, do stop there. Dragon can go with a car, go meet you at that immortal. We got you. Dragon units, public private citizen integration for service and security. Yeah. Thanks, brother. That's what I effing need. See, services, what services? With consent, such as I've aforementioned. So that is my call, or whatever it is. If it's help with cooking, help with cleaning, help with the children, reading some books to the children, going to make some exercise, doing some exercise, making them some run a bit, do some push-ups, because they're driving the parents crazy. The parents are calling out three children. They're 6, 7, and or they're 8, they're 9, 10, and 11. They're driving us crazy. We need an hour. Any Dragon units application 1-800 Dragon Army. We're sure we got somebody 3 kilometers, 3 miles somewhere. We're gonna do some push-ups. Gonna do a little bit of whatever it is with the children, with safety and security, and to because they need to exercise a little bit. They need to exercise a little bit. So we're gonna do some push-ups with the children. Blah 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 blah. Need to exercise. Need to work out. Need to train. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. It is what it is. And service and security, 21st century. That's my call, my vision, my dream for the Dragon Army, based on my philosophies and theories. My philosophies and theories. Public-private partnership. Right? A public-private partnership. That is the call. And complementary covenant, cooperative with the dancing goddess army, to dance for pleasure and purpose. To dance for pleasure and purpose. Pleasure and purpose. Purpose for the environment. To plant more trees. Education is also a requirement. Myself included. A few weeks ago, I checked the booklet from a eco Cartier Eco Quarters. They deal in their office for ecological matters, and to get the instructions on where to best discard certain items, because they don't go into recycling here, and it's not good to throw them to the garbage. There's specified locations, corporations, businesses which take the paint, take the batteries, take the razor blades, and so on and so forth, so that we do proper recycling and disposal of items, which is best not to put them in the garbage or in the recycling, right? So back to surviving COVID. When I had it, I was really sick. Again, I encourage people to get vaccinated. I'm triple vaccinated 3 times. That's it for yours truly. Increasing hygiene in public. Wash hands with soap and water disinfectant. Because myself now, I'm in my private underground, literally underground room, office, and temple. It's too small to have open house here. Can I have open doors Monday to Friday? To rock and roll, philosophize, offer, because I offer hugs, kisses, tickles, and whatever it is to my allies and armies, pledge your allegiance. It's too small. If somebody helps me with the house on Westmount there, it's been left decrepit for like a little bit more than 7 years since I've been marching to that area. And of course, it's been more than 7 years that's been decrepit, it like that, and it's needs some love God. It's for sale. It's been for sale for years, and it's been left decaying, desolate, and decrepit. But with your help, it's between 57 the Belvedere and 53 the Belvedere in Westmount. So my call there, I could have open houses if help get that house. Anyways, so when we step outside from our private domain, which is my underground room, office, and temple, right here, this small space, literally underground, served as a room, as an office, and as a temple. Do meditation, write philosophy, write poetry, and where my workout training program was born, right here, back in 2019, when I've created, made, and produced and designed the workout training program, made and created and designed to go hand in hand with the aforementioned World War III scenario. Since my analysis had concluded back then in 2019 in October, based on several factors, had concluded, said unfortunately, I sounded the alarm. I said humanity, again, a trend. We are set ourselves on a trend towards an international conflagration. And so made, created, and designed and produced the workout training program system, which is officially titled the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, aka the 300 Workout, which is simple, effective, and efficient, and it increases general overall fitness. I made it and designed to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario. Based on several factors, my analysis, the main events which had made me to conclude that humanity is again set towards another international conflagration, aka World War III, was the US-China trade war, which began in 2018 with the Trump administration starting to impose tariffs on imported goods from China. And I think 3 times for hundreds of billions of dollars. At one point, it had reached more than 660 billion of dollars, not of 10, 20 different percentages of tariffs, right? What's known as the ongoing, because it's ongoing, the US China trade war, which was began by the Trump administration in 2018. Now, I'm not going to go into detailed analysis of that, but that was a major geopolitical factor of which I've taken into consideration. Other geopolitical factors was, of course, the ongoing Islamic State terrorism, ongoing and other historical events such as Pearl Harbor. A Canadian event more to do with Canadian geopolitics was the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, aka Kathy Meng, by the RCMP, as the chief financial officer of Huawei, who of course had become one of the top telecommunications, internet infrastructure telecommunications makers in the world. And she's the daughter of the founder of Huawei, who had even overtaken Apple and Samsung in terms of sales and the development of 5G networks and internet telecommunication and internet servers and smartphones. And the smartphones they were. It's a huge telecommunications, Chinese telecommunications corporation, a big one in the world, top five, top. It was even one for a year or two. I think I'm not sure now, but I know that it was. At least 2019, it was a top among the top, along with Apple and Samsung in the smartphones, and not only that, but they also in internet infrastructure. Huawei. So she was arrested to honor an extradition treaty with the United States, and consequently, two Michael Spavor, Michael Covid, were arrested by the Chinese and detained by the Chinese authority. And a few months ago, in a unadmitted quid pro quo, because how many people admit what Rainbow Dragon admits in the public? I even gonna admit now by myself. I cannot lift the sword of freedom. It's double edged. I got freedom tattoo, a tattoo here of freedom. 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 But how many of us are really able to lift that sword of freedom by themselves? Myself, I admit, by my solo, I cannot. Got tiny hands, tiny feet, tiny little androgynous scar dick. We got that out of the way. I got some brain and some muscle, but freedom is an abstract and it's also to be defined, and very, it's a very delicate affair. It's a two-edged sword. Freedom, responsibility, right? But man, yes, I got lusts. I watch a little bit of porn, adult. No need to spy on me. RCMP ceases. Keep on rocking in the free world. We got frustrations. I get moody. I get upset. I wish I could afford a massage therapy session. Blah blah blah. It's too expensive. Cannot afford it. But I'm grateful, and I sing rock and roll, and I'm grateful every day since I almost died during COVID. I carpe diem it and presented my thesis and continue to present my theories, my dances, my workout, my training, my exercising, and will continue to do so since freedom is. Maybe we can lift the sword of freedom together. And what type of freedom do we want to have? Right, we gotta have prosperity. We gotta have some breaking the impasse, some resolutions to conflicts, to our wellness, mental health, and again, I cannot stress enough the importance to work out, to train, to exercise, to take care of the body. Certain things are just like the unadmitted quid pro quo exchange by the Chinese authorities with Meng Wanzhou and Kathy Meng, with the authorities, of course, in the two Michael Spavor, Michael Kovic. Just like that was unadmitted, just like how many things we admit, right? That we have hidden fears, hidden lust. And the hidden fears I'm gonna use the same story. I use the analogy, fictitious, but of course it can be true in many parts, many different situations and scenarios. 6'6", 360 pounds, 13 years in the National Football League, survived 3 concussions. Comes to try to do my workout in my underground room off some temple. We have a coffee with Dragon sessions. We discuss. I ask questions about football because I love gridiron. I do love the sport gridiron. I do love the sport gridiron. And of course, I ask questions, and he starts screaming and running out of my room. I chase after him. I say, "What's the matter?" "Spider, spider, spider." So you're 6'6", at 360 pounds. You spent 13 years in the National Football League. You survived three concussions, and you're afraid of a tiny little spider. Because we have these irrational fears, irrational lusts, right? Irrational lusts. Yes, Rainbow Dragon, I admit I had cuckold fantasies. I've fantasized of being a cuck. Sword of Freedom. Who's gonna live the Sword of Freedom? You? I admit I can't. It's too heavy. By myself. By myself. By myself. Freedom is something new, you know. It's not you know. Yeah, sexual liberations. For me, it has come through blood, sweat, and tears. For many, it's things we had to balance. You know, we got to break the impasses and make resolutions so that we move forward. Have some joy, some joy, some joy. Right? It's not easy these things. You know, and have somebody who can be blackmailed or whatever. You know, reminds me. What was in the story? What was in the story? Something about a politician and supposedly with Russia. You know that Russia's in the news. Something about golden showers. Me, 800. If I can, if say my sister or say I would have a wife, I already asked somebody. I'm androgynous pansexual. I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I'm androgynous pansexual, but I've already asked somebody to marry me twice. Maybe I'm gonna ask the third time. I'm gonna say yes. If my wife, let's say, will say would or somebody else, if I'm not married, because I do if I do marriage, I do open marriage. You know, whatever it is, the case may be, and if I can bring some pleasure, or if, let's say, for example, theorize that I have a girlfriend or whatever, I mean, somebody says, you know, I like to do this golden shower. Sure, why not? Why not? Why not do it? Or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be just sexuality, but understand these things are not easy to admit. You know, to admit that we have, you know, certain desires or certain lusts, hidden fears as well. 6'6", 360 pounds, 13 years in the NFL, three concussions. He's afraid of a tiny little spider. It's irrational. We have this subconscious irrational fears which are part of ourselves. And we have multiple dimensions of our own individual, the micro level, who we are, what can we be, what can we do. More the my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom is what can you offer to bring your knowledge, competencies to do. Can you cook? Can you clean? Can you wash? Can you kiss? Kissing is a must with consent. Allies and armies don't start kissing like now on the streets. People on the streets just like that though. So this freedom is the constant. We got certain cultural things. We have certain dimensions of our own experiences, our own beings. Myself financially struggling at the moment. Economic dimensions, financial dimensions, and there's also gossip, slander, right? You gossip. Oh, need to gossip me. Get dirty. I get dirty. I get dirty. I get dirty. But I get back clean, royal, legal, lofty. I get dirty. I get dirty. But I get back clean, royal, legal, lofty. I get dirty, but I get back clean. Royal Legal Lofty. Sword of Freedom. Freedom is something that's even that's new, huh? For humanity, is something new. It's not an easy thing, you know. We have a lot of dimensions of our own being, of our own selves, our own struggles, psychological, right? Social media, all these effects, technology, all this internet is new. Freedom is new. Internet is new. Satellites. In a parallel life, I know how to create and make satellites. I'm a hybrid of Elon Musk, my Astro Scorpio brother Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and a fourth dimension to that in a parallel life. Could be connecting with that parallel life during this COVID. So having survived COVID, myself do not want to go back to anything pre-COVID. My theories, my philosophies, my workouts, my training, my art, everything that I call my fellow Quebecers here in Quebec, La Belle Province, and throughout the collective North American civilization, aka the complex North American civilizational complex, of which, of course, I am part of, and for which my theories, my philosophies are first and foremost made, created, and designed for North America. Yes, I'm a world peace advocate, but first and foremost, my theories, philosophies are for North America, fundamentally, in essence. Sure, I want world peace. We have to channel the aggression. If we are to substitute, replace war, have to do more sports, more massages, sexuality, it's another thing we have to channel and sublimate, because repressing will make us sick. Chewing our nails. Now he's getting more booty than me. He's getting more. We have jealousies, we have envies. We have myself, sometimes I also check myself, my own theories, my own little, the more lower aspects of the self. I'm not, as a teacher, universal spiritual teaching student and philosopher, I have to admit we have some lower aspects of self. We have the medium and we have the higher self. That's more noble for the greater good. That's for the higher self is usually more selfless, right? And we have a selfish side, myself included. I wish I could have something bigger. Right? I wish I could afford more bacon. I wish I wouldn't be in the debt, $10,000 debt to the RBC. It's my call now to implement the debt refusion theory, the DRT. I believe for the North American civilizational complex is the solution in order to create the UE, the universal exchange in it. That's why I'm calling on all financial institutions and corporations at this moment. Mr. Fink, BlackRock, buying, selling, trading stocks. Mr. Fink, Blackstone, and Vanguard, and RBC, my bank, Royal Bank of Canada, and all banks, Federal Reserve Bank, Bank of Canada, all financial institutions, public and private, corporations, citizens, and governments to support the DRT, the debt refusion theory. I firmly believe this can propel the rebirth and the regeneration and the prosperity for the collective North American civilization in complementary with other activities and initiatives and incentives. Incentivize people to work out, train, exercise. It's a major investment in the body. The philosophy, my philosophy, is the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. To give and receive, to give and receive, to give and receive pleasure and purpose. That's the body. We have so many dimensions of civilization, so many. We have, all of us have the privilege of civilization. We're the prime minister now, Justin Trudeau. He doesn't have to cook. Goes to the dragon. I have to prepare my own food. He's well taken care of. He's got this more food privilege, more this privilege. But even myself, financially struggling artist, and other financially struggling or XYZ working now on a truck, also all of us have the privilege of civilization, and we utilize different privilege of civilization at a certain point in time of our interaction with civilization, with others, or with whatever systems or procedures of whatever it is of civilization at any given moment in time when we utilize it. For example, now the electricity. The, I would have the privilege, if I would have a car, I'm only on public transit, and I utilize, of course, my steel toe boots, and my anonymous friend sister gave me a nice boots, winter boots, which I've been going on sometimes with him. Although the marches were in steel toe boots, and if I would have a car, I would have that privilege to utilize the highways. So I didn't build the highways all the way from Montreal. I could go all the way to Mexico City. Their roads, pavement, they've been paved, constructed, built for more than 70 years. Those roads across from Montreal to go all the way from my metropolis, 2.5 million people, island metropolis, Montreal, aka Hawk Island, to go all the way with a car. I would have to stop because it's a long drive, but I would have that privilege to be able to go on the road, on the highway, and that would be a privilege of civilization, which I would conduct, right, if I would do that. So we have all these privileges, electricity, right, especially the food, right, with the farmers. Most of us don't farm, don't have the farming, don't have that. So we all have the privilege of civilization. For myself, as a financially struggling independent artist, athlete, activist, geopolitical analyst, and theorist and philosopher, to the prime minister, to the multimillionaire, and the multi-billionaire CEO, please give for food security ASAP. Calling on the multimillionaires, athletes, artists, CEOs to please, please, please ASAP finance food security. Mass finance food security. Call it a heart from this yours truly independent artist, athlete, and activist. To please finance food security because it's important and we have that privilege. Different privilege of civilization. We utilize different privileges of civilization at any given point in time. And we all of us, all citizens of Quebec, La Belle Province, all citizens of Canada, all citizens of United States of America, all citizens of Mexico, all citizens, habitants living in the North American civilizational realm, North American civilizational complex. It's a complex civilization, North America, right? And other civilizations as well. We have this privilege of civilization, which we all have. Whether you're a multi-millionaire, billionaire, prime minister, president, Biden has the privilege of civilization. Sometimes he's utilizing different privileges where the water, right, clean water, the aqueducts were built with brains and muscle, aqueducts, roads. This is a privilege of civilization, my brothers and sisters, which we all have. And hopefully, as I'm calling for us to attain harmony between nature and civilization by the DGA Dancing Goddess Army, to be for pleasure and purpose, because it requires education, what to better recycling, what to better compost. Here in Quebec, Abel Province, we have clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy. I'm utilizing now. My smartphone was plugged in, and the electricity is clean, zero pollution energy. Sending big hugs, big kisses to all the workers from the past, present, and in the future. Future long-term contract gonna credit workers of Hydro Quebec billions of hugs. Go Hydro Quebec, go build me another seven in the next 7 years. Right? Because it's clean, zero pollution, zero utilizing the lakes, rivers, right, to build the dams, steel, cement, brains and muscle. I got some brains, I got some muscle. By myself, I cannot lift the sword of freedom. I admit it is too double-edged. It's constant requirement of analysis of our own micro level individual self with the interactions with the micro and the macro. Right, as myself as the micro, I meaning as an individual level with my own aspirations, theories, philosophies, experiences, everything that I bring to the table. And the macro level, everything that exists in the table of our collective civilization, our North American civilizational collective, right? Because they're North America, we constitute a collective North American civilization. And then our interactions, whatever it may be. That's why my call now is for all my citizens, fellow brothers and sisters across Quebec, La Belle Province, Montreal, and beyond, coast to coast, to please increase in hygiene in public. Right, that's why I open carry disinfectant, hand sanitizer. See right here. When I go outside, I have it ready. So when you go in a bank, in a school, in a store, wash the hands, rub hands, disinfect. Even if we totally get rid of COVID, it's still a good practice to keep because we have that added dimension. Right now, I'm in my underground, literally room, office, and temple. I can turn everything off, do whatever I want. I share, I open the sphere from my private self as a private philosopher, private athlete, artist, activist, all the dimensions of my work, my philosophies, my theories, which I'm sharing with the world, my call to all. I could have stayed in the private, and I'm sharing from my private underground room, office, and temple, literally. Dragon's Lair, Rainbow Dragon's Lair. The lair of the dragon from the lair of the dragon, sharing with the world. But when I would step outside, or when I do step outside, I'm no longer just private citizen. I'm also a public citizen. So that dimension is added with responsibilities, duties, and obligations when we go into public, which we do not have as a private citizen. My obligation is to pay my rent, right? To respect my quarters, pay my rent. My rent's paid last day of February. Electricity bill is paid. Have those responsibilities, duties, and obligations. And I have food, and that's a privilege that I have food, right? Because of the farmers. Thank you, farmers, 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 and all involved in the distribution and production of food. Food security is very important. That's why I'm calling on multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, and of course to support the implementation of my Trinity theories in order to secure food, housing, and transport in a public-private partnership across the North American civilizational collective. So back to the main topic at hand, surviving COVID. Having survived COVID, when I had it 3 times. 2020 was the worst. Thought I was gonna die. It was like pestilence, death, and disease. I was very, very sick. All the symptoms of COVID. But when I had it end of January 2020 until about mid-February or so. Mid-February or so, I started healing, getting better. And then I had it in 2021. It was milder, a milder version. And then I had it last year. I think July of 2022, the last time, the third time, right when I had it. So it was even milder the third time. Although I have to say that I am triple vaccinated. So again, on COVID, my trinity on COVID, the coronavirus, has been, is, and will be this. First and foremost, do not know what caused COVID for sure. I believe it was transmitted from snakes to human beings. In other words, what's called zoonotic or zoonotic transmission. So, in other words, from animals to human beings. That's what I believe. But third, since I do not know for sure, and my belief that the coronavirus COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings is not 100% or totally confirmed, thus I cannot rule out another possibility, whatever that case may be, whatever XYZ. Like now it's in the news in the last 48 hours or so that it's the United States Department of Energy has been recorded that it could have been possible from a laboratory leak, from a leak from a lab. Like I said, I cannot rule out another possibility. I believe it was snakes transmitted to human beings, but I cannot rule out another possibility to XYZ factors. A fourth dimension to that trinity on COVID is what I do know 100% without any doubt whatsoever is that before COVID, yours truly have made, created, and produced and designed a workout training program system of which I've performed online and they're posted on YouTube and posted on Facebook. Hundreds of workout training program videos of which I performed of my own created because I've created it back in October 2019 as an independent fitness captain. I've created what it's officially titled the General War Integrated All Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army Workout, aka the 300 Workout program system, training program system, which is efficient, effective, and simple because it requires no equipment. But paradoxically, have made it and created and designed to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario due to the fact that in October 2019, as an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, had concluded based on several factors, several geopolitical factors which were ongoing, and of course of which the major one was the aforementioned U.S.-China trade war, the arrest of Meng Wanzhou by the RCMP in order to honor an extradition treaty with the United States, and several other geopolitical aspects and factors, and even historical factors such as the Pearl Harbor event in December 7, 1941. So these several factors, geopolitical factors and events and historical events, made me to conclude back in 2019 that humanity, I've sounded the alarm, I said humanity, we are again trending towards an international conflagration, and so made, created, and produced and designed my workout training program system to go hand in hand with such an event, such a scenario. And that's what during COVID I began to advocate for the implementation of my Trinity theories, to call all institutions, governments, and organizations and citizens to support my dream in many ways, my dream manifesting as the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, for the collective North American civilization, rebirth, regeneration, insurance of liberty and freedom and prosperity with some joy, and of course even for world peace. But we have to learn to channel, and we have to put into application the channeling of aggression, to channel aggression, to work out, to train and exercise. Again, I cannot stress enough the importance for regular physical exercise. They does great wonders for the mind, for mental health. You feel so much better. If I feel moody, and yes, sometimes I feel moody, we have emotions, feelings, irrational urges, all sorts of irrationalities, which are part of us, our subconscious, our evolution, our progress, our interactions with ourself and others, and the micro and the macro interplay of our individual self with our own desires, hopes, aspirations, knowledge, skills, XYZ factors. and the macro level when we interact, right? But the small cities, a village of 1,000 or 10,000 have own dimensions to my metropolis, Montreal, aka Hawk Island of 2.5 million people. Right? There's also these dimensions: rural, urban, urban, rural. All these interplay within the collective North American civilization. But back in 2019, so to go back in time, in October, when I've October 17, 2019 was the first time, my first session when I did the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the 300 workout, aka the Dragon Army workout. The first time when I've performed it was October 17, 2019. And since then, I did more than 350. I did the 300 session on 29th of September of last year, 2022, and I've officially changed, turned the A of my surname into a no. Because I've reached 300, so I began a second cycle. So it's easy, effective, and efficient, requires no equipment, and is a simple workout training program which increases general overall fitness. What my program training system does, basically, it increases general overall fitness. It's not much to do with more aesthetics, to be for muscular, but it does build strength, endurance, agility, and overall fitness. So the more you do it, the more fit you become, because it's simple, effective, and efficient. And the paradox of this workout training program is that I created it to go hand in hand with an event, an international conflagration, in other words, World War III scenario. I was hoping to avert it. I still have the hope that we can avert it, but perhaps, as many say, we have crossed the Rubicon. And of course, there's maybe resolutions or solutions. I'm calling for immediate ceasefire, peace, my brothers and sisters, so that we learn to channel the aggression. We do sports, we do push-ups, we do exercising, dancing, whatever it is in these activities, right? I understand there's many other dimensions, economic, financial, commercial pressures for us to attain freedom or to attain liberty. If we are to attain liberty, with some joy, some prosperity. Sharing is caring, sure. Myself, economically, financially, commercially struggling at this point, but my rent's paid. Last day of February. I'm grateful, thankful that I got coffee. Grateful, thankful that I got food. Grateful, thankful. I'm going to bless the farmers of the collective North American civilization. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, cooks, firefighters, public security workers, all involved in the production and distribution of food. Gonna rock and roll for the warehouse workers, those loading and unloading the trucks in steel toe boots, loading and unloading the trucks with goods. Give a big dragon hugs offer to the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, those bus drivers, public bus drivers, those on the truck on the roads going east, west, north, south, now carrying all those goods, potatoes, rutabagas, all the goods that exist now, interacting with all the markets across the North American civilization and the supply chains, from the ports to the farms to the truckers going east, west, north, south, Canada, US, Mexico, and of course that are on the train as well, the freight trains going east, west, north with whatever it is, the goods, the potatoes, the barley and the grain, to the train conductors, to the train conductors, to the train conductors, because we got all this privilege of civilization, of which we all have, from the prime minister to the CEO, multi-millionaire and multi-billionaire, to the independent artist, geopolitical analyst and theorist and activist and athlete who's geopolitically an analyst and theorist and who's financially struggling at the moment. But I'm rich in theory and philosophy. Kisses got by the trillions, credited from the goddess. I do say goddess. As a universal spiritual teaching student, I adopt non-dogmatic, non-sectarian in all things, and principles. Public-private partnerships is my first and foremost principle, and my call to all to implement my trinity of theories, known as the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory. That trinity of theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension, and that fourth dimension is love. And love is also action, right? Because love, it comes in many ways, shapes, or forms. I have this love for coffee. I have love for XYZ, love for dancing, love for working out, love for sports, love for XYZ, satellites, love for the internet, love for my allies and armies, love for rock and roll, love for poetry, love for entertainment, love for comedy. I can do a little bit of comedy. 1/7 comedian. It's good to laugh sometimes, to laugh at my own self as well. Sometimes we gotta focus with some solutions. For myself, during this COVID, working out, training, and exercising, it has been really medicine and therapy, and I strongly encourage and suggest workout, training, and exercising on a regular basis. It does great wonders for the mental health, for the body, right? For to heal and for wellness. Also recommend to go on long walks, maybe in the forest. Right here, I'm grateful that I got the mountain, which is my favorite place to meditate, to philosophize, to write rock and roll, to write poetry, to LOV, to work out, to train, to exercise at the Belvedere, conjure out Mount Royal. We have a mountain system which has three peaks: Mount Royal proper, West Mount, and Neutral Mount. Mount Royal proper is my favorite, and the headquarters of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which I'm calling all to support the dream, which is a dream basically to implement my theories and to create the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions: the North American citizen integrated defense, strictly and solely for defense of the North American civilizational complex, coast to coast, North America, defense only, security solely, and services, defense, security, services, and fourth dimension to that: defense, security, and service trinity, to respond and be of help in emergency situations such as Fiona, as I've aforementioned. Fiona, it hit not only our brothers and sisters in Florida, but it came all the way to North America, here in Canada, in the Atlantic, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, right? Have to be able to respond for emergency situation for the 21st century is my call to create what colloquially known Dragon Army, or the call for the public-private partnership, because fundamentally my call is for a public and a private partnership. That's why I'm calling on all institutions, all organizations, public security forces, corporations, small business, big business, medium business, citizens, to implement my trinity of theories: the CIT, citizen integration theory, the DRT, death fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory, to be implemented. That trinity of theories via the fourth dimension, and that fourth dimension is LOVE. So, as I'm doing this part one of this surviving COVID series, again, I'm grateful, thankful, as I carpe diem it every day, and I want to see the youth joyous and wellness and educated in hygiene and working out, training, and exercising, which across the schools and the high schools of North America. I would propose in my protocols for the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom educational protocols, and of course to increase in hygiene and increase, of course, in workout, train, exercise, more physical education, right? More physical education. I believe a few hours more per week, and even free, an hour of free physical education and for dancing or whatever. So I have multiple Dancing Goddess and Dragon Kingdom educational protocols, of which include maybe a few times a week, even of half an hour a day, to give to the to give a few classes to dedicate, to let them dance a little bit, just dance and go dance a little bit to lift some steam, get some energy, and more physical education for the 21st century, where you have more energies which are more intense, which with the arrival of the internet, 3G, 4G, 5G telecommunications, and Facebook and YouTube, and all these are energies in many dimensions, manifest as the energies which are more intense, right? Which are even new and new. And we have been through share of pain and struggle, humanity, and we still are today. At a grave situation, we have to channel and sublimate. Those two words are key words of my philosophy: channeling and sublimating aggression, even sexuality, right? Sexuality, sexual liberation, and has not come for myself personally without blood, sweat, and tears, right? Has not come for my fellow LGBTQ community, those who fly like myself the rainbow flag across nations, rainbow nation across nations united. Has not come for many, or many are still in the closet in their 40s, 50s, 60s even. I say also take the sports leagues, right? I'm gonna say patriarchal because my brothers, please mass finance women's sports leagues. There's not even one women's sports league which makes even close economically, financially, commercially to what patriarchal sports leagues, the NFL, National Football League, which I love football, hockey, I love hockey, National Hockey League, basketball, I love it, NBA, MLB, baseball, I tolerate baseball. I accept it. Whatever, hit that ball with a stick. Go for it. Channel the aggression. Sports play sports, right? But nonetheless, of course, there's not even one women's sports league, which makes financially, commercially close to what it's what NBA I think is average salary is 7.7, and NFL is like 2.8 or something like that, and NHL is 4 million average. So some make more, some make less. NBA is the highest of them all. The National Basketball Association, they make 7.7 average last year, so a year. So some make 10, 15, 20 or more. Some make 6, 5, 3, whatever it is per year salary. So my brothers and owners of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, maybe please, let's start March. Today is the last day of February across the collective North American civilization. Please, 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 from this independent fitness captain, independent athlete, please finance food security. And I'm calling a call of the heart now. It's going to be put on the public to give 10% on the next season starting ASAP this 2023, ASAP in the coming days, weeks, and months. To give 10% of all the tickets of all the aforementioned patriarchal sports leagues, the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, like gave 10% to give free to the farmers, all involved in the production and the distribution of food, because even you multi-millionaire athletes have to eat. You gotta eat. All right, we're gonna watch some hockey game tonight. Go Habs, go! So gotta eat. Owners, food security is super important for myself as a cause, along with others. So set up, give 10%. My call to give 10% of the tickets to the farmers, to the butchers, truckers, nurses, to lay off a little bit of percentage for all those involved in these works and these services. That's a call of the heart from this independent athlete who's got some brain and some muscle and who survived COVID, so surviving COVID back in 2020, end of January started getting sick, very sick. By first week of February, I was very sick. I thought I was gonna die. I said in many ways I did die because personally there's nothing that I want to go back to pre-COVID, and so as I begin this new cycle of working out, training, and exercising, and being reborn as Adrian Hanna Dragon and androgynous pansexual founder of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which first and foremost I'm laying the foundations of the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom with 718 trillions of kisses. Trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. So trillions of kisses from the forgotten goddess credited, who still dances with a brother sun, my pope, who now rises and now sets. And as the motto of the DGA is, the Dancing Goddess Armies, that all, ALL without exception, all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes, all the grain, are made, created, and produced and designed by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun, that our brothers and sisters, farmers, harvest for us by those fruits, legumes, and vegetables to build, maintain, or upgrade civilization. Upgrading civilization means we got to go towards the stars, start colonize Mars, and towards the stars, the colonization of space. And first, we got to attain harmony between civilization and nature, and we got to substitute war. If we are to substitute war, we got to do it with workout, train, exercise. We got to do it with security and service, ensure freedom. Freedom is a very new thing, is a delicate thing, double-edged sword, right? Because it's a it's a constant myself. I admit by myself to lift the sword of freedom. My hands are too small, feet are too small, tiny little thing. So I cannot by myself. It's very few people which are, really to fight for freedom. And that freedom we gotta have a balance in nature and civilization, and have some economic, financial, commercial stability, right? And have some food, housing, and transport. Food and housing, transport secured. Food and housing, and transport secured. And have food and transport and housing secured first and foremost. And those are primary elements of civilization. And doing my general or integrated all body training system, aka the Dragon Army workout, and my scenario, which I've made back in 2019. Since then, 3 years I've been that was the main focus of the workout training program system of my scenario, which I began in 2019, and I've sounded the alarm back then as a independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. And since then, my focus has been how in a public-private partnership, a PPP, a public and a private partnership, and the creation of the public-private partnership institution of the 21st century solely strictly for defense, security and service, defense, security and service for defense, security and service, and how to secure the three elements of civilization: food, housing, and transport. So since then, 3 years I've been meditating geopolitically and in a public-private partnership with citizen integrated in all existing institutions and organizations, how those three can be secured across the collective North American civilization. So meditating on coast to coast on all the food production that takes place, from the farming to the butchers to now the supply chains from the fast food to the restaurants to everything that we have, of course, which is applications and food ordering and the housing, the transport, the highways, the trains now going, how many trains going east, west, north, south, public trains, and of course freight trains, passenger trains now going across the collective North American civilization, passing Canada coast to coast, going from US. And of course we have integrated highways and railroads, which are part of the building blocks of the infrastructure of the collective North American civilization, right? And of course which have to be secured as along with the farming and throughout the collective North American civilization. So my theories and my philosophies as a philosopher, independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, the CIT citizen integration theory. Well, the CIT has to be can only be put into practice once we have the two complementary covenant of cooperative public-private partnership institutions, the international citizen or the North American citizen integrated defense security service and service force, aka the Dragon Army, and the North American integrated dance league, aka the Dancing Goddess Army. And once we have those, we can have the citizen integration theory. And citizen integration theory, to give an example, is via either the Dancing Goddess Army or the Dragon Army, to encourage citizens to go see, and in cooperation, collaboration, partnership with all existing public and private institutions and organizations, to go see, for example, how farming is done. How many people in big city have never seen farms, potato farms, or rutabaga farms, carrot farms, farmers here in La Belle Province, Quebec. I know, for example, that 44 kilometers. Last time I was buying potatoes, and I check and I say, oh, this farm is 44 kilometers that way from Montreal. I bless the farmer. I said, bless you. You double the harvest. Thanks for these potatoes. I'm going to feed myself for a week, or whatever the case may be. So citizen integration theory is to go see what citizen and to integrate to see how all things of civilization are done. For example, how the dams here in Quebec, La Belle Province are done, where those dams are in a little bit in the Grand Nord, and throughout La Belle Province, right? We have dams on La Romaine River now being opened. I think we have three open now, and the fourth one is to be open maybe this year, right? Maybe going up to 64. So see how farming is done, how trucking, how all things of civilization, from the universities to the production and the distribution of food to, of course, coast to coast to ports to railways to trains to, so that is citizen integration theory. The CIT theory, the citizen integration theory, is to go with citizens and to have weekly, bi-weekly events where we have citizens going to see all these dams here in Hydro Quebec. With Hydro Quebec, some of them, not the 64 of them, but maybe some of them in the Bay James, and the Bay James is in the north, or to go see how the farming is done, how farms are, where the farms are, the urban, to go spend a week or a weekend in some rural village, and to go travel coast to coast and to see, for example, the prairies and the production of the wheat and the barley in the prairies, and to see the construction workers, how the construction is working, public-private partnership, and so on and so forth, in education, in high school, in universities, and to attend to citizen integration theory. So an integration at all levels of our collective North American civilization. That's basically what the citizen integration theory is. But we have to have the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, of which are part of my dream manifesting as the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, and the public-private partnership subsequently thereof, and the integration across all levels, and the public-private partnership for total security and the insurance of freedom and sharing of prosperity. And of course, first and foremost, I call for the creation of the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, first and foremost around the collective North American civilization by implementing my DRT, my debt refusion theory. DRT stands for debt refusion theory. The DRT, debt refusion theory. So the debt refusion theory is taking all private and public debt, myself $10,000 in debt to the RBC, Canadian debt, federal debt, United States debt, and since the United States dollar is still the international finance currency of choice, the world trade currency of choice, global commerce currency of choice, to peg it to the United States dollar and to have the freezing and the consequent standardization of the prices, and taking all the private and the public debt, so refusing, so take my the private debt would be of private citizens such as myself. So if I'm X1, you're X2, and there's hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of X's, right? Canada, coast to coast, United States, Mexico, of course, first and foremost for the collective North American civilization, for North America, taking all the private and the public debt, whatever that number is. United States now is in the trillions. Or we're gonna do it with before June, when the consequent maybe another crisis on the financial United States debt, potential debt default. So calling Janet Yellen to support it, all private and public financial institutions, corporations, citizens to support the DRT, debt refusion theory. So taking all private and public debt, my debt $10,000, your debt X, all the X's, tens of thousands of X's, hundreds of thousands, millions of X's, refusing it, creating what I call the UE. So the initial money supply of the UE, which will be pegged to the United States dollar, since the US dollar is still the international finance currency of choice, global commerce currency of choice, and world trade currency of choice. So create the UE. UE stands for Universal Exchange Unit. U dot E dot U dot Universal Exchange Unit. To create the UE, and of course to be pegged to the United States dollar, and all the debt, the public and the private debt, that will be the initial money supply, and then freeze, and all loans consequent thereafter will be set to have a maximum on the credit cards, on all loans, business loans, mortgage loans, whatever loans, of 10%. So 10% would be a maximum which any interest can be paid of 10%. 10%. So that is my call to all to support the DRT, debt refusion theory, and subsequently created two complementary government and cooperative institutions, and create, of course, the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragon Army, and to be for security and service, and not only for security and service, but strictly and foremost for defense, coast to coast, North American collective defense, ocean to ocean, ocean to ocean, that way. The east is the Atlantic, that way. The west is the Pacific. So coast to coast, ocean to ocean, strictly and foremost, this public-private partnership for this new institution, PPP, public-private partnership, to be strictly and solely and only for defense, security, service, security, and defense. Defense, service, security, and fourth dimension to defense, security, and service, to be able to respond in emergency situations such as we had seen that Hurricane Fiona, of course, was involved in all the North American realm. Fiona hurricane last year. So that is my call to all. Not perfect, far from it. Got some issues, got some vices, and still ongoing on the healing process. As a universal spiritual teaching student, I'm gonna do some meditation. I'm gonna be saying thankful, because my meditations is always for some gratitude and some thankfulness for this cup of coffee. Thank you, farmers, truckers. It was probably transported by truck and by train, and doing a meditation now. All the truckers, all those loading, unloading the trucks from the warehouses in steel toe boots, loading, putting on the pallets, the labor, truckers transporting the goods and loading the goods on the trucks and on the freight and on the train, and all the nurses, doctors, butchers, bakers, cooks, all involved in the production and the distribution of food. Sending some LOV to the firefighters, to the public security workers, to all, of course, who make a sandwich now across the collective North American civilization, preparing some food, whether a salad, fries, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, preparing a coffee, making a coffee for a trucker maybe now who's transporting maybe 156 tons of potatoes in the truck. Maybe not tons, but kilos. Tons in a truck, 156 tons, not really. A few tons, yes, not 156 would be a lot because a ton is 1,000 kilos, right? So that would be more on the train freight because a ton is 1,000 kilos, right? 1 ton is 1,000 kilograms. So 156 tons would be a lot for a truck, unless it's metal or stuff like that. But it would be a lot to transport 156 tons. A ton is 1,000 kilos, but it could be 11 tons or 7 tons, maybe less. Maybe let's say 156 kilos or XYZ, and all the goods and services which are now, of course, going east, west, north, south across the North American civilization, for which yours truly, this rainbow dragon rock and rolls for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery stokers. For the nurses and the doctors and the truckers and the butchers and the cooks and the cooks. We're gonna rock and roll it for you, yeah, we're gonna rock and roll it. Gotta say a thank you, gotta do a little step, gotta do a little singing, and a little bit of poetry, yep. For the farmers and the butchers and the truckers and the cooks and the nurses and the doctors and the firefighters. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Gratitude, my rent's paid. It is February 28th, snowstorm in Montreal. So back in 2019, we're going to go back in time again. About 93 days before I had COVID. And paradoxically, I was sounded the alarm. I've concluded, based on my geopolitical analysis, I've said back then, I said humanity. Based on the main factors, again, which were part of my geopolitical analysis, main factors was the US-China trade war, where it began in 2018 with the Trump administration imposing tariffs on the importation, on the imports from China. So they began in several stages, several levels. In 2018, March 2018, if I'm not mistaken, the Trump administration began imposing tariffs on China. So that is the beginning of what's ongoing, because it's still ongoing, known as the US China trade war. But that US China trade war began the deterioration of Sino American, Sino Canadian, Sino North American, and Sino Western, to a more or less extent, relations, right? The relations between the West, if you will, but mostly North America, US, and Sino US mostly, but not only, relations. And paradoxically is that for more than 30 years, right, since the 80s, 1984 to 2018, that's more than 34 years, right? 2018, 84, 1984, 16 plus 18, that's about 34. So since 1984 to 2018, for more than 30 years, 34 years or so, there was a buildup of relations, mainly trade relations, business relations, commercial relations, financial relations between United States and China, Canada and China, North America and China, and NATO member countries, if you will, what's known as the Western world, the West, and China, in terms of business, economics, finance, and trade on a massive scale, and which has increased, right? Because if you look, it looks like it's going on the mountain from a low point before 1984, and it looks like it's going up on the mountain. And then in about 2018, it started going down again, right? Because of the US China trade war. Geopolitical relations will build up, and of course, the trade. I'm responding to the trade aspect because in my geopolitical analysis, the U.S. China trade war was the main factor. Not the only one. There were several, but one of the major ones, along with the arrest of Meng Wanzhou, aka Kathy Meng, was arrested by the RCMP in order to honor an extradition treaty with the United States of America. And consequently, there were two Michaels, Michael Spavor and Michael Covid, detained, arrested in by Chinese authorities. And a few months ago, there was a quid pro quo, an exchange which was unadmitted that it was do. But how many things we do as were not admitted? Now sometimes it's hard to admit to ourselves that we do that, right? Sometimes we go on the street, right? We go on the street and we might see a black man, a black man, a black man, or whatever it is, and we have a little bit of racist feelings, and we have this, so we cross the street, or we're afraid, or whatever it is, right? That we don't admit to ourselves or to others, or that maybe somebody who's not admitting he's a homosexual or gay or bisexual, or that he likes golden showers or whatever. It doesn't have to be sexual, it could be financial, that he's financially broke, struggling, whatever it is, that he can't do that, that he's this and that, and gossip and all that, right? There's a lot of things we don't admit as human beings. To ourselves, it's hard to admit and acknowledge and accept, and to others, it's hard to admit and accept also. Sometimes we feel inferior. It's hard to admit. Myself, I admit I am mediocre at some things, I am average at some things, I am so so at others. Being so so, mediocre at average at some things, I'm also great, super, and excellent at some other things, such as geopolitical analysis and theory and some philosophy. I'm great at geopolitical analysis, theory, philosophy, and my workouts training program is great, right? And I do believe in the greater good, but I am not totally selfless. I don't want to afford more bacon. I don't want to afford that massage therapy session. I'm grateful, thankful that I can substitute take a hot bath. So I'm grateful, thankful for that. So back in 2019, October had concluded that humanity, unfortunately, we are again on a path towards another international conflagration. In other words, a World War III. And so made, created, and produced my workout training program designed to go hand in hand with such an event, a scenario. So my workout training program goes hand in hand, paradoxically in a parallel providential way, with the aforementioned scenario. So back, so for more than 3 years, as I outperformed that workout training program system, sure, I've been upset. I've saw a lot of people just going to the status quo, and corporations and patriarchal sports leagues not donating, doing so much charity and supporting food security as I wish they would. Multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, and XYZ. I understand financial, economic pressure, CEOs, and they rush back to go back to pre-COVID, pre-business, and a lot of people are happy to go back to how the things were and whatnot. But not yours truly, Adrian H. Dragonborn died during COVID, being reborn. Adrian Hana Dragon. I want to break the impasses. Personal for me, I cannot stress enough the importance to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. Have been, am, and will continue to advocate, call for the mass financing of citizens across the North American Civilizational Collective to work out, train, exercise, and the Dragon Army public-private partnership would serve even that purpose, to encourage people to work out, to train, and to exercise. And working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice, and to secure and ensure freedom, as I'm a pro-labor and love, universal revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrism is based on my CIT, my trinity of theories that I'm calling for the implementation via the fourth dimension. That fourth dimension is LOVE, the CIT citizen integration theory, the DRT debt fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory. Trinity of theories to create the complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the North American citizen integrated defense, strictly and only defense, solely for defense, only for security, strongly and vice versa, defense, security, and service, service, and fourth dimension to that trinity of defense, service, and security to be for emergency responses such as hurricanes, as Fiona we had seen, derailment of train, my brothers and sisters of East Palestine, Ohio, sending some LOV, all the collective North American civilization, coast to coast. That way is the Atlantic in the east. That way is the Pacific in the west. It's 2:14 here p.m. It's 11:14 a.m. It's 3 hours difference on the Vancouver, British Columbia, and Seattle, of course, down in Seattle and Washington State, and down in California. California is that way, of course. It's 3 hour difference, so having still in their morning cup of coffee still for a few 44 minutes or so. So coast to coast, and of course the implementation of my Trinity of theories, CIT, DRT first, and the Detral Fusion theory first. And having survived COVID, I had it 3 times: 2020, 2021, and last year 2022. So I'm monitoring still if I
have some symptoms because it's still around, still some the variants, right? Still COVID is still around, so that's why I'm advocating, calling for people to please increase in hygiene in public when we step outside, myself included. I'm no longer just private citizen. We have a responsibility, duty, and obligation to public hygiene, public public hygiene, right? We have the private and the public domain, and fundamentally, my dream manifesting as the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, of where I'm calling all willing, loving to support, is fundamentally a public and a private partnership in everything that I do as a philosopher, a geopolitical analyst, and theorist, artist, activist, and the world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet who is not perfect. Far from it. I don't want to hide that I have vices that I said before. If I wouldn't mind owning a strip club. It would be a strip joint that's LGBTQ strip joint. Rainbow Dragon Strip. Rainbow Drag, that would be the name. Rainbow Dragon Strip. So we got that out of the way. I'm not perfect. I'm a pro labor universal revolutionary centrist, I'm a great, super excellent geopolitical analyst and theorist, and based on what I've concluded back in 2019, unfortunately, that humanity is again towards a path towards an international conflagration. It seems that many of my geopolitical realities and analysis have been proven to be correct in many ways. That's why, of course, have and I'm advocating for the implementation of my trinity of theories: the CIT, citizen integration theory, DRT, depth group fusion theory, and the democratic fusion theory. That trinity of theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension. That fourth dimension is love. Love is also action, not just blah blah blah. My main message is one of my main messages, such as increasing hygiene in public and encouraging all to work out, to train and exercise regularly, because it has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice, is with consent. Consent. Give yourselves a hug. Like you never hugged before. Give yourselves a hug like you never hugged before. That's what I got. Billions of hugs, trillions of kisses, tickles, some brain and some muscle to all my willing, loving allies and armies. Kisses first, credited from the goddess. If I want to build a temple, a place, a house, I'm gonna be named Forgotten Goddess Temple. As a universal spiritual teaching student, I can be non-sectarian, non-dogmatic. I don't have all the answers. I know XYZ, I have so many questions, and XYZ I don't know. But what I do know for sure, like I said on the COVID, first and foremost, I don't know what caused COVID for sure. I have a doubt. I do believe that COVID was caused by the transmission. It's called terminology is called zoonotic transmission from snakes to human beings. But since I cannot rule out, so I don't know for sure that it was so. That's what I believe. Some say bats, pigs, other creatures, other like fish even. But I think bats is the most popular one. I believe it was snakes. Some even believe snakes. Myself, I believe snakes. But I cannot rule out another possibility. I don't know for sure. What I do know for sure, without 100%, and 100% without any doubt, is that about 93 days before COVID in October 2019, I've analyzed the geopolitical situation, the global, international, worldwide geopolitical situation, and I've sounded the alarm. I said, hey, humanity, we're again on a path towards another international conflagration. And so made and created and designed as being both an independent fitness captain, the people's athlete, and an independent geopolitical analyst and theorist. Have sounded the alarm back then and concluded that humanity we are again on a path towards an international conflagration. In other words, a World War III. So fast forward 3 years later, it seems that the path is even more set towards that trend when I concluded back in October. And since I've seen COVID 3 months later, because October 17 was the first workout training program of which I've done. My general integrated body training system, make it a dragon workout program. Go hand in hand with the World War III scenario. So the first time when I've concluded it, my analysis, geopolitical analysis, And then I had COVID 3 months later, 93 days or so. End of January, started feeling sick. First week of February, I thought I was gonna die. First days of like February, let's say 6th to about 13th or so. And then I started healing. Mid February, I started feeling better. 2020. And then I had it in 2021 and 2022. And I triple vaccinated. I got triple vaccine. So that's my Trinity on COVID. Now with the news being that is something about a lab leak, more credible that it could be. I don't know. I cannot rule out another possibility. First and foremost, I believe COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings. Second, I do not know for sure, or vice versa. I don't know for sure, but I believe it was snakes transmitted it. And since I don't know for sure, and my belief in snakes is now 100% confirmed, I cannot rule out another possibility. I cannot rule out another possibility. XYZ, whatever factors is. Accident gone wrong, experiment gone wrong, lab leak, bioweapon, all the possibilities. But what I do know for sure is that before COVID, had made and created my own workout training program system designed, made and created to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, and of course had analyzed the geopolitical situation and had concluded that humanity is again towards another international conflagration, and so made, created, and produced and designed my workout training program made to go hand in hand with such a scenario. That is what my conclusion had come to. And paradoxically, as a world peace advocate, still am a world peace advocate, but you have to learn to channel the aggression, to com- convert it, channel and sublimate it towards working out, training, and exercising, working out, training, and exercising, working out, training, and exercising are keywords of my philosophy in terms of my own admitting that myself I do have also aggression, but I channel and sublimate. Very important to channel and sublimate. Do push-ups, do hugs. Motto of the one of the mottos of the Dragon Army is "Nobody's born a dragon," myself included. Um, because of a surname, DRAGN, which through blood, sweat, and tears and hundreds of workouts, when I reached 300 session 29th of September 2022, that's when I've officially turned the A of my surname into a no. Dragon Army, we channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. Will be one of the motto. Dragon Army, we channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs, with consent. Don't start hugging people in the streets now. Consent, consent, consent. We channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. Right? We channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs. We all have things that we can bring to the table. Experiences, desires, knowledge, energy, forces, poetry, art, theory that we can do for the collective North American civilization's rebirth, regeneration, insurance of liberty, sharing of prosperity, and collective security defense. Because since 2019, and my meditations and my philosophies have been, of course, for the defense, security, and service, and the collective North American civilization, first and foremost, for the North American civilizational complex. You can interchange the aforementioned determines the geopolitical reality of North America constituting a complex civilization or a civilizational complex, of which yours truly is the geopolitical analyst and theorist, and some philosophy and some theory, which I firmly believe in my theories that in the 21st century where we are now in terms of the geopolitical realities, in terms of the socioeconomic realities, that implementing my Trinity theories, first and foremost the DRT, debt refusion theory. DRT stands for D, debt, my debt included 10,000, all the public and the private debt refusion theory, to create the UE, what I call the universal exchange unit, U dot E dot U dot, probably by biometrics. That's what I'm calling on my Scorpio brother Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and all private and public institutions, financial institutions, Mr. Fink, Mr. Fink, Mr. Fink, central banks, collective North American civilization of North America, to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory, to create the UE. UE stands for Universal Exchange Unit, to be pegged to the United States dollar, since the United States dollar is still the international finance currency of choice, world trade currency of choice, and of course the global commerce currency of choice, preferably by biometrics, the hand, The voice and the eyes are unique biometric identifiers in the 21st century and incentivize citizens to work out, train, exercise, and public hygiene, and to create a complementary covenant of cooperative institutions. The North American citizen integrated its defense, social security, and service force to be for that trinity: defense only, security solely, service purpose for service, and fourth dimension to be integrated with citizens and respond for emergency situations such as hurricanes and climate change emergencies or train derailments or XYZ factors of water or whatever causes natural or man-made disasters may be. So that is my call to all public and private institutions and organizations across the collective North American civilization to support the aforementioned Trinity of theories, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, the Debt Refusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory. That Trinity of theories to be implemented via the fourth dimension. And that fourth dimension is love. Because fundamentally, it's a question of love. I want to love. I want to see other people love. It always brings me joy, pleasure. See people hugging when I go on marches, hugging, kissing, and consent, consent, consent couples. And as I always say, and I've said in the past days, weeks, months, and years, and for somebody's not making LOV now, kissing, hugging, whether rainbow from my fellow LGBTQ community or not, all types of love, rainbow, black and white and black, interracial, whatever it is, love, kissing, hugging, and what are we fighting to save a civilization for? And it always gives me some hope when I see youth loving and hugging and kissing. Because otherwise, what are we fighting to save civilization for? And I want to, my dream of the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, I want to see our youth healthy, well, and loving and strong and joyous and exercising more and doing more physical activity and hygiene, 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 and loving their bodies because the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. The body. That is my philosophy, spiritual philosophy, psychological philosophy, and physical practical philosophy. The body is a temple for pleasure and purpose, not something to be ashamed of, to be ashamed about lusts or so inclination, but to channel and sublimate, whether sexuality or aggression, to channel and sublimate, sublimate and channel, sublimate and channel, channel and sublimate via art, via push-ups, dancing, 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 running, jogging, to channel the aggression, to sublimate and channel these energies, these forces, which are sometimes within us, our subconscious, our irrational, that we have, whether coming from a past of whatever XYZ factors. Like I said myself, I don't remember much of my youth, adolescence, early adulthood. I remember mostly the past year being COVID. After coming here, I remember I spent in Montreal a few years. It was chronic illness and everything that I have written on papers, on USB keys, which are my poetry, philosophies, theories, which have been and will continue to share with the world. I've been sharing in the past days, months, and weeks, and will continue to do so in the coming days, weeks, and months. And I remember years of struggle, chronic illness, and poverty, and artists financially struggling, and then I met a good friend, and here's a little bit better in this underground room off some temple, and moved here, and I've healed, healed, healed during this COVID, and workout, train, exercise, lots of workout, train, exercise, and education, continuing education on the daily. I also got the privilege of civilization, utilizing coffee and electricity, which is clean, zero pollution energy, and sending big hugs to the workers of the past, present, and future. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hydro-Quebec, and bless Hydro-Quebec to build 7 more dams in the coming 7 years. Go Hydro-Quebec, go in the lair of the dragon, we love you. And Quebecers coast to coast, and Canada coast to coast, and North Americans unite is the call of the rainbow dragon, who is now perfect, far from it. And to implement my Trinity of theories, first and foremost for the collective North American civilization, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Fusion Theory, and the Democratic Fusion Theory via LOV. And now we're gonna rock and roll it again. I'm gonna say grateful, thankful, farmers, 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 butchers, bakers, cooks, nurses, doctors, firefighters, public security workers, train conductors, bus drivers, those who picked up the garbage yesterday. We're gonna pick up the compost, we're gonna pick up the recycling. Picked up both the recycling and the garbage. Public workers of the city, big thank you, big hugs. Thank you for the work that is done on a daily basis. Those loading and unloading the trucks now across the collective North American civilization in Canada, Quebec, La Belle Province, loading the shelves with the goods, preparing a coffee, doing a cheeseburger, a hamburger, a salad. Now all the cooks, all involved in the production and the distribution of food, the nurses, the doctors, calling all citizens, all institutions and organizations, public and private institutions and organizations and corporations, banks and financial commercial institutions, all willingly loving to support dream, my dream, Major Nana Dragon's dream, manifesting as the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, to implement my Trinity of theories. And part one of this, surviving COVID, 3 years. 3 years since I had COVID the first time, because I had it 3 times and I'm triple vaccinated. I don't want to go back to nothing. I've just the past days, weeks, and months and years during COVID, I've healed a lot, transformed a lot, and still learning every day, writing and writing. I've shared my philosophies, my thesis, the privilege of civilization, which we all have at different levels. The people's doctor, the people's athlete. Sending LOV with consent. Give yourselves a big hug with consent, like you never hugged before, like a whole period. You see me talking, just with consent, hug, listen and hug. Holy, sacred, divine coffee. We're gonna put it on. Facebook, never delete, never delete. And we're gonna see you in a bit.